Hi everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Donna Wilberg. Tonight we are so happy, thrilled in fact, to have Linda Potter back on the set with us. She's a past life regressionist. She's a hell of a lot of fun, and I'll let you see for yourself. Linda, it's just, we're laughing already, and we haven't even done anything productive.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show tonight, Donna. Such a pleasure to be here.
Good. You know, we've discussed many things in the past, but tonight we're going to talk about something that people are probably wondering, and that's what the hell is going on out there, and how are people coping with it?
Well, in my practice, I'm seeing, and not just my practice, I see it at the coffee shop, I see it through conversations with peers and people on the street, that right now is a very challenging time in that it seems like, whether it's on the global stage or personally, it seems like things are going to hell in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. Issues that people have that they would rather not deal with, that in the past they've been able to bury in the sand and walk the other way or numb themselves from it, mm-hmm. they're having to face it now. And the intensity seems to be greater than I've ever seen it before. And that's across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having the background and knowledge in past life regressions, do you feel there's a correlation as a group that people, kind of our soul groups, are going through things together? That they're coming from a past life and now everybody's sort of going through as a group. Does that make sense?
It does. I think there are layers here. I think absolutely as a group we know through, at least from the window where I sit when we're talking past lives, we keep coming in with the same groups of people. Mm-hmm. Some people are there this lifetime to be the shoulder we lean on. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we are an adverse person for another one, for them to let go of some kind of anger issue or whatever it is. So yes, we do come in with those types of angles going on, things we have to deal with. Some is pleasant and some's a challenge, but it is what it is. We do have that, but on a greater scale from what I'm seeing, it's humanity that's going through this. It's mm-hmm. not just this little soul group, but of course everything starts small and it builds up. I believe that the time that we're in life right now is the most unique time in human history. I can't help but feel that through the bit of research that I've done, but looking out and watching what people are going through. Knowing that when you're talking a past life situation, if someone in this life is trying to get through loss, let's say, mm-hmm. they haven't been able to come to grips with a loss that they have suffered in this life, that is always because they haven't in the past life gotten over the loss. So they're back here again to suffer not that loss, but maybe 3 or 4. The intensity is greater. Yeah. The idea being, in order to stop the chaos, we have to face our own stuff. Now, we keep looking out there for answers. And of course, I love to research, even though I'm a total amateur at it. But it helps me to have a well-rounded view, little bits and pieces, to kind of come back to myself. And I'm realizing that we have to start inside ourselves. Whatever issue you're dealing with or I'm dealing with, we have to fix that. We have to come to grips with it. We have to get our head out of the sand, plunk it on the table, look at all sides of it, stop letting it be the monster that it seems to be by ignoring it. Mm-hmm. And at that point you can now, okay, how am I going to address that? That's going to settle down the chaotic scene quite a bit. Yeah. And we'll be balanced.
It seems like things are happening in large masses, like your uprisings in Mississippi, your cop killings and your people that are being murdered and all these riots that are erupting as a result of this. It seems like there's a lot more of that going on now than in the last 20 years. And it just keeps escalating, and it just seems to incorporate more and more people. Every time you turn on the news, it seems like there's something that just pulls so many people into it. So in that respect, I'm just wondering how much of this is, if we are in a hurry to get the lessons learned, how much of this is past life, and it's just these situations are presenting themselves so people can learn the lessons and go through these experiences.
I think that's a very, very good subject to bring up, because if somebody is watching the television every night still, they're plugging themselves into such a deep amount of negativity that you've got to take a look at who's putting the news on. Now, if you sit in front of the tube every day, and it doesn't matter if it's CNN, it doesn't matter if it's left-wing, right-wing Fox, MSN, BBC, it doesn't matter. When you turn the television on, you can guarantee that they're all going to be saying about the same thing, almost verbatim at times. They're openers, and we've seen YouTube clips of this kind of thing. We have to start engaging our brain just a little bit and saying, if I turn on the TV and I'm being shown a pharmaceutical commercial that's telling me I'm going to bleed profusely from taking this drug, what would be the purpose of that? The desensitizing possibly of us? The desensitizing us to tragedy, or to push fear porn at us? So I think we need to be discerning. I personally shut the television off a few years ago. I started doing research and I realized this doesn't make me feel good, and it doesn't mean I'm burying my head in the sand. I'm aware of world events, but at the same time, I'm choosing to put my focus in better things. Why don't we see on television the great things people are doing to create free energy, to create organic gardening, to tips and things that are wonderful? Why are the pharmaceutical commercials allowed to run rampant as they do? That type of thing. So to pull back from that, I think, is wise, number one. Because we are creators. Where focus goes, energy flows. If we're constantly focusing on the negative, what are we going to create?
Oh, absolutely.
We've both seen this in our lives.
Absolutely.
And if we start realizing that's what we're doing, the first thing is get control of your thoughts. Any random day when you get something that comes through that all of a sudden you're feeling fear, and 2 seconds ago you weren't, stop. Literally take a step back. Why do I feel this way right now? Do a self-audit. Clean house. Do I choose to feel that fear, that anger, that whatever? No. If you need to address something, address it. But take control back over those thoughts, because those thoughts then are the fire behind either the attitude you have or what you're putting out energetically. And that does have a big effect on everybody.
Yeah. Now, can we touch a little bit on interdimensional attachment? Because some of the things that are happening, and, I feel like I'm in that position where I'm kind of sensationalizing some of the incidents, but I'm curious as to why these things are happening as well, and who are the scapegoats. So, like these kids who are going in and, just killing people en masse, for no apparent reason, or not a good enough reason, in my estimation. Do you feel like there's some sort of force at work that's using these pawns to create this by some sort of interdimensional attachment?
Again, there's many layers to that question, and I'm not an expert in all those layers, but I do know there's a great purpose to having people come into situations and pull out a weapon and shoot the masses. I mean, no light-souled entity is going to do that unless they're askew for some reason, and there are many reasons for that to happen. A lot of people in the research field will say it may have to do with taking weapons away from people. A lot of people will agree with that. But to pull back further, even further, there are some situations, and there's a couple of YouTube clips that people have probably seen. If not, it's easy enough to find. There's a gal on a train in Canada, and it's, possessed woman on a train in Canada, and you can pull it up.
Right.
It shows a woman, someone is clearly filming her. They saw something about her that was odd, and you see her going from relatively normal looking to this very strange facial movements, head thrown back, and then she proceeds to physically attack a gentleman next to her who's minding his own business. And there's other ones like that.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Right.
And people that are religious zealots, if I can use that term here, might say, well, they're possessed. Well, okay, there might be something too, but what does that mean?
Yeah, possessed with what?
Right. So there is something through holographic kinetics that I have learned from an Aboriginal descendant, and it's called interdimensional interference. Now, the players in this, I will use the terms gargoyles, reptilians, winged serpents, and such. There's an array, and these things have been written about in biblical texts. What the Aboriginal descendants and Aborigines knew in their culture is that these were attachments that people could have for various reasons, and the reasons are many. The idea being that sometimes that's running a body full force. So that woman on the video, for example, in Canada on the train, I would look at her and I would say, chances are she has an interdimensional interference running her.
Yeah.
Can she get herself back? Sure she can. But she's probably not aware of what's going on. She'd been taken over so greatly. But it's good to know that even entertain the thought, even if it seems so out of the box for someone that could exist.
Yeah.
It's good to just put it on the shelf and say, could it be possible? Do our belief systems, does our programming in this life and past lives that led us up to where we are now, have they flavored us so that we don't want to listen to another way of being? Have they flavored us so that we don't realize that we're all in this soup together, and if you're hurting, I'm hurting?
Right.
And if there's something that can help us, then maybe we should be open to the idea of that so we can get to a place of internal balance. Because once we find that internal balance, then the external just has to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point. And I like the way that you have kind of put a positive spin on that. Because it is possible for us to all band together and to, kind of rethink and change our way of looking at things.
Well, there is, and when you look at, like you said, the scene of the mass, the gatherings and
Right, there's so much of it going on. It's
Right.
almost like, what the hell is going on here? Why, in the past, I'm up there in my past 39 years, I don't remember there ever being so many incidents consecutively, one right after the other. It seems like you can't recover from one when there's another one. So we're being bombarded with something, and I just wonder, where's it going from?
Well, you see, when you look at that, what we're getting is a complete polar opposites. It's getting as bad as it can get.
Right.
That's what's happening, I
Okay.
believe. This is the human history part that I think is so exciting. But you have to back up from it and not be
Yeah.
involved in it. And you can say, all right, now these people that are fighting in any given street, if you stop the music, stopped everything, those people are just like us. They don't really want to be fighting. They have an agenda running. Who knows where that came from? That's
Right.
a separate issue. But when it boils down to it, as humans, we don't want that kind of controversy. We want to get along. We want to make sure you have food and I have food, and we wake up and enjoy ourselves and get along. That's not something that's normal for humans to be doing.
Right.
That is an extreme, and I think we have to go into observing position, be aware of it. If you feel you need to do something to help a cause, then by all means do it. But do it in a very balanced way. Do not go about anything at this point in time in an off balance, really angry or overly sensitive. Know that it has to happen for a reason, but stay balanced and
Right.
watch it and see what comes out of it. I just think we're at the tail end of some very extreme business, and we're being tasked with the ability, if we can reach down inside of ourselves and become in a place of balance inside, knowing and trusting that for some universal reason this clearly needs to happen, but I'm not going to be a part of it because I do care about fellow man and I don't want to be a part of that, and I'm not going to throw stones at someone.
Yeah.
And stay in that zone as much. It's like staying in the eye of a storm.
Yeah.
It's going to be happening all around us, but if we can stay, if we can hold, we're going to be better off for it.
Well said. Well said. So, suggestions on how to insulate ourselves. you have your meditation groups, that I'm sure is helpful for a lot of people out there who are suffering. Cancer is one of those demons, that a lot of people are facing right now. You work with clients who are dealing with those issues at St. Joe's. What other kind of things are you seeing?
Oh boy, it's across the board.
Yeah.
And I think no matter what issue somebody's dealing with, whether it's your own physicality, maybe you have a disease that's going to take you out and you believe that it will, or it's something so serious, you're in the last stages of it. Maybe it's an emotional issue, maybe it's a relationship issue. Whatever your issue is or your challenge is, put it on the table in front of you. You've got to address it. If you address it, it will no longer be such a challenging force in your life. It's kind of like if you're running away from the guy that's chasing you down an alley. You're running with fear. We've all done it. Some of us continue to do it with certain things. But as you run, they're behind you, and they're going to catch up to you at some point because you can't run forever. How about if you stop, turn around, and go, stop, right where you are?
Yeah.
Well, that changes the game.
Yes, it does.
And that's what we have to do. We have to get to the point where we stop the monkey business, whatever's fear-based that's plaguing our minds, put it down and address it. Have I done everything I can to help myself? Maybe it's a physical issue to heal. Am I pulling in on my Western medicine, Eastern medicine, all my resources? Well, yes, I am. Okay, if I've done all of that and I'm connected to my source, whatever that is to me, that's the best I can do. Now, don't waste another minute being morose. Go out and live.
Yeah.
Do what you can. Help somebody else. It'll pull you out of your own stuff quicker than anything else.
Yes, that's very, very well put. And also, not to believe everything that you see. I know there's a lot of YouTubes out there that are, they certainly can escalate. Talk about fear, talk about anger,
Yeah.
You see the comments. There's more comments on negative stuff
Yes.
sometimes than there is positive, which is really kind of sad. But that's the thing that we're talking about right now.
Right.
Because, we need to turn that around.
Pull away
We need to
from it.
stop that, yes.
Yeah, pull
and
away.
be aware, I'm going to give you an example. There was a YouTube clip of this policeman beating up this girl in the hospital ER room. Just went after her, just beating on her, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, that just doesn't sit right with me. So I looked at the editing. For one thing, it was an old clip. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. If this happened in 2013, why are they putting it up now? And two, it had been edited. So what you were seeing may not have been what actually happened.
Right. And then the other part of that is, why should we waste our beautiful creative ability in the negative zone like that?
Right.
I mean, this is a critical part of who we are, and I think we need to start looking at this or entertaining the thought, could it really be? We've talked about thoughts are things. Where focus goes, energy flows.
Right.
I know a young woman who used to watch television shows where there were robberies, people breaking in, stealing and hurting the resident of the houses and such. She was into it. She really enjoyed watching that kind of thing. Within a 6-month period of time, guess what happened to her? A druggie came to her door, tried to break in. Luckily, they didn't get in, but scared the you-know-what out of her.
Yeah.
And I ran into her not too long after that, and she told me what happened, and I said, what do you watch all the time? Have you put it together that where focus goes, you're pulling that type of scenario? Because when your mind goes over these scenarios, that's what you're creating. And as time goes on, we're getting more powerful with this, and we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't she was no victim. She created it by her focus day after day of watching this program. So if we all reflect on where our focus has been, and this goes for positive things too, we can pull those in if we daydream and focus on those things. But we have to realize we've got to take responsibility for where our mind goes. Big one, big one.
Yeah. Yes, and we're, what you want to buy into as well, because something's going on. We may not know what exactly it is until, our time is up, but there's definitely something going on right now. And it's almost, there's almost like a struggle between them and us, the awakening.
And I think what we're learning is it's no longer them and us, it's us all together.
Yes.
And this is where it's taking us, because we have to see it's like a magnet. You have the positive and the negative, and how they reflect off of each other, where they push so hard against each other. And I think it's been the dark and the light, and I think it no longer is so much the dark and the light, as it's all one. We're just seeing an extreme of what we can be and what we can do. And we have to pull ourselves in. And not everybody is on board to do that. Some people are rolling in the negativity pretty heavy. And maybe they're going to come in again and again and have a few more negative or challenging lifetimes where it'll be a little harder for them. Where other people are going to move and evolve beyond that. And this is where the big shift is coming in. That if you get that, if you understand it's not striking out against the evil and the good, it's as Neil Kramer puts it, a favorite philosopher of mine, it's the creative and the destruction. Right. So you have to destroy things sometimes in order to create something new. And it's not that it's a bad thing, it just is. When we get into that space, I think we're getting there. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
Well, we're getting closer to running out of time, too. Do you want to give everybody your information, how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. All they have to do is go on lindapotter.net, and it's all there.
Okay.
Upcoming, I'm going to be coming to Arizona in November, doing group Past Life Regression there, and we'll see what's coming up in the future.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we need to give some information about the Paranormal Connection.
The Paranormal Connection airs the first and third Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our companion show, Story Connection, airs the second and fourth Thursdays of each month. Each episode repeats the following Friday at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday at 5:30 a.m. Watch these programs online at the same air times by going to accesssacramento.org and clicking Watch 17. In the Sacramento region, you can see us on Comcast Channel 17 and on AT&T Channel 99. You can find previously aired shows on the Paranormal Connection YouTube channel. For information on upcoming shows and previous Paranormal Connection guests, go to paranormalconnectiontv.blogspot.com. You can contact us at paranormalconnectiontv@gmail.com. And don't forget, find us on Facebook, become a friend, and become a fan.
Linda, you've brought up so many wonderful points and given us so many good suggestions on how to insulate ourselves from what's going on. Do you have any other words of wisdom that you want to pass along before we run out of time for real?
I think that instead of insulating ourselves, to do self-audits daily. If you've pulled away from television, that would be my biggest recommendation if you haven't already. Pull away from that. Internet can be just as bad. There's Facebook, there's different things. Go on there and check it out. But if you get to the end of your day and you find that you haven't accomplished anything that you set out to, or you don't have a goal where it can be something that will help you, your family, friends, or your business, start looking at that wasted time. Use it. Don't let it use you. And that goes for any kind of artificial intelligence, whether it's your cell phone, your computer, your Twitter account, whatever it is you're doing. Use it, but be cognizant that you don't let it suck your life force, because tomorrow could be your last day here. And you will turn around and look and go, damn, why didn't I spend that time putting that product out or helping someone with a meditation or whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
So analyze the time that you spend during the day. Be self-disciplinary. That's what it is. We've got to be like the martial artist. When you're hit with something hard, let it go by you and observe it. Don't let it land, observe it. Is there any part of that I need to pay attention to? Is there any part of that I need to own? And then let it go. So offload this stuff, be a disciplinarian with your time, and make every day count. And we're in this for each other, and to know that.
Feels wonderful. You have me hooked. That's part of the recipe that you talk about in healing. That just is so wonderful. And I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about it, because you certainly have been a positive influence in my life and many others. So it's always good to have you share your views.
Well, I thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here and have this beautiful platform to share.
Well, thank you. And because we're almost out of time, I really want to thank my fabulous crew, because they come out, they volunteer their time. Without them, we would not have the show. So hopefully I can remember everybody's names. I've got Laura and Ted and Rick, and we've got Elaine here tonight. We had some wonderful people here earlier. Hopefully I got everybody, but aren't they fabulous?
They're
These are people that, you just really want to be around, because they've got such beautiful energy.
It's like anything we do in life. It takes everybody. It takes the whole team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very blessed. So with that, I am going to say goodnight.